I recently posted my Sex and the City parody, and it turns out there's quite an overlap between its fandom and Sims players. I figured some of you might enjoy this little speed build as a follow-up video. Some of you also asked me about the neighborhood, so I thought I'd show you what it looks like in the game. The thing with the neighborhood, unfortunately, is that it's not very playable, so I don't think it makes sense to share it. I originally created it for an 80s inspired playthrough, but I never really ended up doing much with it. Funny enough, I just named it The City, not realizing I would later reuse it as The City in my 6 and The City parody. What you see here is mostly neighborhood decorations, lots of them. I'll share the links in the video description. I went a little crazy with the decorations because my game never really suffered from the pink soup issue. But in the last few months something changed. Maybe I downloaded CC that started causing problems, or maybe it's a Windows or driver update. Either way, when I was filming, the whole neighborhood would sometimes flash pink. So for that reason alone, it wouldn't be a great neighborhood to play in. Maybe I'll make a different version of this city in the future that would be easier to run and more suitable for actual gameplay, and then I will be able to share it with you. Another reason the neighborhood wouldn't work as a download is that filming Machinima tends to make lots messy. There are mods and animation boxes everywhere, or I move things around to make filming easier. I also had to make random changes to the beautiful lots that the fourth rabbit created, for example, turning them residential instead of community and vice versa. Sometimes those changes corrupted or glitched the lots. I think it happened when I switched a lot to residential but left community type objects in place. Or maybe the game just knew I was filming and decided to mess with me, because honestly, every time I try to shoot something, the game glitches in the most absurd ways. For example, when I wanted to shoot the first scene with all 4 characters, I had them sit at the table and eat dessert. At some point, Miranda stood up and suddenly gained weight after eating a single piece of cake. Honestly, relatable. I think it was because I used cheats to keep their motives green, and since I had her eat cake when she wasn't technically hungry, the game interpreted that as her overeating. Another funny moment was when I tried to shoot Charlotte on a date with Mr. Familyman. Because I made Charlotte a shy family sim, she rejected even a friendly hug from him, despite them actually being friends. Normally, it's easy to make sims crush on each other, but of course not when I was filming. Classic Charlotte. I also had trouble with the repoman. I tried spawning him with cheats and it didn't work. I used a cheat to make the bills go red, and he did show up. But then he got out of the car, got back in, and drove off. So I just made a sim that looked similar, spawned the repo gun, and put it in his hand for that one scene. Sims causing fires while making a salad is a meme at this point, but not in my game apparently. I gave Samantha exactly 1 cooking skill point so she could use the stove. Nothing. I even deducted that point and had her resume cooking. Still nothing. I tried the cheapest stove. Nothing. I made her cook in a terrible mood. Still no fire. Eventually, I downloaded decorative flame effects from Mod The Sims and placed them on the stove. I also struggled to film Samantha in the hot tub with 2 sims. Of course, you can't just have 3 sims engage in certain hot tub activities together in the game. I thought I could just place the 3rd sim using move objects, so I put a separate hot tub in another room and had the other sim go there. I needed him to have the cuddling pose, so I also had to use another sim as a stand-in, but when I tried moving him with move objects, he snapped to the default seating spots. I eventually managed it by placing him on an all MSB. By the way, I only decorated one side of that room, but then I realized I needed a shot from the opposite angle which would show that unfinished part of the room, so I just rotated the hot tub for that one shot. The firefighter kicking the door scene didn't come out exactly how I wanted. It was tricky because, as far as I know, there is no way to open a door without a sim actually walking through it. For that shot, I needed the firefighter to stand in place and do the kicking animation, so I had another sim walk through the door first to get a shot of it opening, then moved that sim elsewhere and cued the firefighter's kick. Timing it was hard, and the kick was too late. I tried many times, but it was tough to get the timing right, and at the same time avoid his leg clipping through the door, so that was basically the best shot that I got. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the lot itself. To be honest, I don't consider myself a builder, but I love playing out scenarios and recreating things that I see in real life. I enjoy these build sessions where I sit with Google Images or Pinterest open and try to make the scale and proportions actually work in the game. I don't know if this happens to you too, but I always underestimate how much space builds actually need. The scale looks fine from the outside, but once I start the interior, I realize there's basically no room for stairs. So I either make interiors that don't really make any sense, or take the building apart just to try to make it a few tiles bigger. That's probably the biggest thing that bothers me about The Sims 2's build mode. But honestly, other than that, it's actually crazy how well the game holds up in terms of design. Just give me a more flexible buy mode, more customization and cast, and better performance, and I'll be happy. And if we could fix the pixelated houses outside the active lot, I wouldn't ask for anything more. To get around this, I made a fake street in the middle of the lot and built another row of townhouses opposite Carrie's apartment. Because I'm lazy, those buildings look almost the same with slight variations. One problem I always encounter when building is finding custom content. First, finding the objects online, and then actually finding them in the catalog. Honestly, half the time spent on this build was me scrolling through deco objects, trying to find something and forgetting what I was looking for halfway through. And sometimes, tracking down that one piece of custom content online feels like an archaeological expedition. You know it exists, maybe you had it years ago, or you just assume that in 20 years of this game someone must have made it, but somehow you just can't find it. For example, I couldn't find deco clothes or shoes. It's tricky to search for it because you get so many results for actual wearable clothes. I was lucky to find the fourth rabbit's amazing lot because his department store actually came with tons of those items. I have no idea where he found them, but it made my life so much easier. His store even had actual Manolo shoes. I still use Max's objects a lot. In fact, I try to use them as much as possible because my downloads folder is already bloated and I don't want to add to that. I'm now trying to make separate folders for each machinima, but it's still rather messy. Because I decorate with Max's stuff first, Carrie's closet turned out pretty sad initially, but eventually, right before shooting, I replaced it with some nice custom content I found on Tumblr. Speaking of custom content, for the intro I wanted to show a busy city with lots of pedestrians. But filming Sims walking around is a nightmare, so I figured there must be some deco objects, like sculptures, that look like Sims that I could use to make fake crowds. I couldn't find anything at first, but then I saw some old posts actually mentioning such statues, but no download links unfortunately. Apparently there was a creator who used to share lots that had these fake crowds. At some point I think I somehow managed to find their website, but the links didn't work. Then I found an archive of their files on SimFileShare. I downloaded it without knowing exactly what was inside, but luckily those statues were actually included in it, so eventually I was able to use them as fake crowds in the background. If you have any stories of tracking down that one elusive piece of custom content, please share in the comments. I love this kind of internet sleuthing, especially when it actually ends successfully. Okay, I guess that's all I wanted to say. Let me know if you have any questions. I know this wasn't like a great speed build video, but honestly, this was the first time I ever recorded my building, and I never really realized how chaotic my process is until I watched the footage afterwards. I wonder if people who make speed builds have to remind themselves to build coherently so that it looks good in the video, or if it just comes naturally to them. Anyway, I hope this neighborhood walkthrough / speed build / machinima making of was somehow interesting to watch. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions, and of course, like and subscribe if you want to see more of this in your recommendations. Okay, bye!